In this story, you'll meet 68-year-old Mike. Mike is a man who has been filtering, researching, and then trying out every piece of health-related information since his youth. What makes him special is that he never rushes to decide what to believe. That's why his 7-day trial of Ginkgo Biloba is a valuable observation for us. What I'm going to talk about today isn't just the question, does ginkgo work? Our real question is, how does a body over 60 respond to this plant? Does it really make a difference in memory, focus, and energy? We will paint a picture based on Mike's own experiences, his doctor's words, and scientific observations. Every detail will be considered with the sensitivities of old age in mind. Before starting ginkgo, Mike had noticed he was experiencing mild forgetfulness, putting his keys in the wrong place, struggling to find words, sometimes repeating a sentence. "It's a normal part of aging," he said, but his curiosity got the better of him. When Mike decided to try Ginkgo Biloba, the first thing he did was consult his doctor because its blood-thinning effect is well known. Mike was also taking blood pressure medication. His doctor said, "Start with a low dose, monitor yourself." Mike wasn't someone who blindly believed in herbal remedies. He always said, "Herbs are medicine too. If something I don't know is going into my body, I'll be the first to testify to it." So began a 7-day observation period. He took notes every day. Today, I'll share those notes with you. Translated with deepl.com, free version. On the first day, Mike wasn't expecting any miracles, and he didn't experience any. Ginkgo biloba is quiet before it starts working in the system. The body just notices that something new has arrived. Mike said he felt a slight warmth in the first few hours. This can sometimes be a placebo effect, or sometimes a slight change in actual blood flow. These kinds of sensations are more noticeable in people over 60 because circulation is generally slower. There was no change in his focus, but he felt his mind was awake. His sleepiness didn't decrease, but his mental fatigue felt lighter. By the end of the day, he hadn't experienced any side effects. This made Mike even more curious about the second day. Mike noticed something while going through his morning routine on the second day. He experienced less forgetfulness while preparing breakfast. It wasn't a dramatic difference, but he said, "I felt that ginkgo created a slight boost." When he sat down to read a book during the day, he noticed that his eyes felt less tired. This was the effect suggested by studies indicating that ginkgo increases blood flow to the brain. He didn't say he felt energized all day, but he did say, "The worldly heaviness lifted a bit." This description was like the clearing of the mental fog experienced by many people over 60. Again, there were no side effects. This was the most important criterion for him. Translated with deepl.com, free version. On the third day, Mike did a little test on himself. He didn't write a shopping list. He tried to keep it in his head. The list, which normally got mixed up after 3 items, remained clearer today. When he chatted with his old co-worker in the afternoon, he noticed he was more fluent in forming sentences. "My trouble finding words has eased," he said. Mental clarity was exactly that, a reduction in the delay between thought and speech. As an observer, I noted that I saw the relaxation on Mike's face for the first time that day. On the fourth day, Mike went for a walk. He walked at a slightly faster pace than usual and said his breathing felt more regular. This wasn't a huge effect, but in a body over 60, this difference is easily noticeable. He felt a slight warming in his hands and feet. Improved circulation is one of ginkgo's most well-known effects. However, Mike was always realistic. "I don't expect miracles in the first week, but there is a slight improvement." This statement sums up his scientific way of thinking well. At the end of the day, he noted that he slept better than usual. This increase in sleep quality was an indirect effect of ginkgo. Mike felt more social on the 5th day. He said he felt less tired during phone calls. This is one of the areas where mental fatigue is most noticeable in old age. Mike, who experienced mild, meaningless anxieties, was calmer that day. This observation was consistent with ginkgo's anxiety-reducing effect. He solved a Sudoku puzzle and noticed he finished it faster than on other days. He joked, "It's like my brain has been oiled." Again, there were no side effects, so he felt more secure. On the 6th day, Mike noticed something while editing old photos on his computer. It was taking him longer to focus. Normally, he would get bored after 10 to 15 minutes, but today, he worked comfortably for 30 minutes. It was also easier for him to remember small details. He recalled scenes from a documentary he had watched the previous day. Scientifically, this is consistent with ginkgo's effect on short-term memory cycles. At the end of the day, he said, "This plant has an effect, but not as much as people say." Known for his realism, Mike doesn't make statements like that lightly. On the 7th day, Mike summarized the week. His memory hadn't miraculously changed in a week, but his mental clarity had increased significantly. Fluidity in daily tasks, faster thinking, a slight ease in walking. These were all important small gains for someone over 60. Mike said, If this continues, clearer results could be seen in a few weeks. This aligns with the literature. Ginkgo's main effects generally become noticeable within 4 to 6 weeks. The experience was valuable for him because he progressed safely and monitored himself. Many studies have examined how Ginkgo biloba increases blood flow to the brain, has antioxidant effects, and supports memory processes. However, none of these are a definitive solution. Its effects may be more pronounced in people over 60 because circulation slows with age. People in this age group generally respond most strongly to it for memory loss, forgetfulness, tinnitus, and cold hands and feet. Mike's observations were consistent with this. Mike reminds us in the 11th minute, memory isn't something you can turn on and off with a single button. The quality of memory in old age is the sum of many things: blood flow, stress, sleep, and nutrition. That's why Ginkgo's effect is never magical. It's a gradual touch that builds up over time. He noticed this effect particularly in remembering names, whereas the question, "What was that actor's name?" used to require long deliberation. Now it came more quickly. This difference may seem small, but it is an important detail that boosts confidence for those over 60. Mike's notes repeatedly mention that his feeling of mental fog has decreased. This means that the hazy feeling often described by aging people has lessened. Scientifically, this can be attributed to Ginkgo's ability to support cerebral blood flow, a simple but meaningful contribution. Studies indicate that Ginkgo's main effects become apparent within 4 to 6 weeks. Mike supported this information. If a person tolerates it without adverse effects, they may see clearer changes in memory and focus after a few weeks. Mike decided to continue trying it because the first week had given him the signal that it was worth continuing. The long-term benefits of Ginkgo become apparent with regular use. It's not a sprint, it's a journey. Mike's doctor had specifically emphasized the issue of blood-thinning medication when recommending a low dose. This risk applies to everyone. Additionally, Ginkgo should be discontinued before surgery. Mike had also noted this in his notes. Medical supervision is essential for conditions such as diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart disease. Mike's experience was safe because he proceeded consciously. At the end of the week, 3 sentences in Mike's notebook stood out. I woke up clearer. I thought more fluidly. I felt less tired. Putting these 3 points together, it becomes quite clear what an aging body needs: a comfortable mind. Ginkgo's greatest contribution to him was mental comfort. This is a feeling that young people often overlook, but that older people value greatly. This is what we saw when we observed Mike. In conclusion, Mike's 7-day Ginkgo biloba experience shows us that even small changes in a body over 60 years old can create significant comfort. This is exactly what Ginkgo does: a slight improvement in memory, increased focus, more fluid thinking, improved circulation, and a little support for emotional stability. The sum of these things noticeably improves a person's quality of life, but this is a journey that requires a doctor's approval and conscious use. Like any plant, Ginkgo should not be taken lightly. Mike's story shows us not that aging slows down, but that aging can be more comfortable. And perhaps the most beautiful part is this: the body changes, but the sense of curiosity can always remain young. Have you used Ginkgo biloba? Leave a comment.